Yes, good evening. Let me begin with some remarks on these two countries where the Commission conducted the post-program monitoring. We from the ESM, we do our own early warning system. And in our analysis, we use, on the one hand, our perspective as a creditor to Ireland, Portugal, Greece, Spain, and Cyprus. And on the other hand, we have insights from our daily contacts with markets as a bond issuer and as an investor of our capital, so we can put all these things together. And I think that's a good combination that's perfectly complementary to the perspectives that the Commission has on these countries. More specifically, on Ireland and Portugal, the good news is that we are not concerned about their payment capacity to the EFSF in the short term. This is not unimportant because the payments are increasing. For Portugal, it's more than 300 million euros this year. For Ireland, it's almost I think it's the other way around, sorry. For Ireland, it's more than 300 million, and for Portugal, almost €500 million. So the amounts are not negligible, but we are not concerned. At the same time, because we are a long-term creditor, and we are the largest creditor to these countries, we also must take a long-term view on the country's growth potential, risks, and debt sustainability. This is important because repayment takes place over the next 20 years, and we will monitor the economies until everything is repaid. In that context, Ireland, which obviously has had a very good economic performance the last few years with the highest growth rates in the euro area for several years, has some risks on the external side. You're all aware of Brexit. We are aware of the deterioration in the external environment. On the internal side, there are some risks of overheating. And in that context, it's very encouraging that Ireland decided to create a rainy day fund and also decided to increase the rainy day fund to a higher volume than initially planned. And I think this is really the appropriate step to take in light of these risks. With respect to Portugal, I share the view expressed already that developments on the economic and budgetary side have been very good in recent years. But of course, there are also risks. Looking at the longer term, risks coming from the external side, but also I think on the internal side, it's important that wage increases are supported by productivity gains in order to keep competitiveness. A few words on the budgetary instruments that was discussed today. I think it's good to look at this also in the broader context, what has happened over the last few years. Since the beginning of the euro crisis, we have been trying to increase the resilience of the euro area to reduce its vulnerability. Many things have happened. We discussed this over the years, including important institutional innovations like the beginning of banking union, the creation of the rescue funds, EFSF and ESM. And now looking at the budgetary capacity, I know that most market participants take the view that monetary union would be incomplete without such a budgetary capacity. They would see a clear gap as long as that does not exist. Improving convergence and competitiveness, which is the aim of this budgetary instrument that we discussed, would obviously also improve the resilience of monetary union. In addition, from an economic perspective, I think it would be useful that such an instrument is designed in a way that it also has some counter-cyclical elements. And that can be done via the expenditure side, but also via the funding side, or both, while maintaining fiscal neutrality over the medium term. Let me end here.